Welcome to the public comment presentation for the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor project. The purpose of this presentation is to give you an overview of the project and explain how you can ask questions or provide comment. First, let's start with some background about why the project is needed. Then, we'll talk about the planning process and the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. We'll also talk about the preliminary alternatives to be analyzed, and we'll cover the topics to be considered in the environmental assessment related to the human and natural environment. Finally, we'll let you know how you can ask questions and provide comments. The purpose of the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor project is for Colorado Springs utilities and Northern El Paso County sanitation providers to consolidate wastewater treatment systems into a centralized system that is environmentally and fiscally responsible, provides for increased system reliability, accommodates future growth, and maintains compliance with more stringent water quality regulations. What does that statement of purpose and need mean? It means that a 10-mile pipeline would be constructed to collect wastewater flows from the northern districts and transport them via gravity to the J.D. Phillips Water Resource Recovery Facility in Colorado Springs. The result would be consolidation of regional wastewater treatment facilities as recommended by state and federal permitting authorities. That consolidation would permit a larger customer base to share the costs of compliance with increasingly stringent state and federal standards. Also, operating costs would be reduced or eliminated with elimination of multiple wastewater lift stations. And ultimately, efficiency would be increased by using capacity already available at the J.D. Phillips facility. The Northern Monument Creek Interceptor project is a proposed collaboration between 7 wastewater service providers. Colorado Springs Utilities is the largest provider and is serving as facilitator for the 6 districts in northern El Paso County. For permitting purposes, Colorado Springs Utilities serves as the project proponent. The 6 districts are Denala Water and Sanitation District, Forest Lakes Metropolitan District, Monument Sanitation District, Palmer Lake Sanitation District, Tri-View Metropolitan District, and Woodmore Water and Sanitation District. At the federal level, the Air Force is the lead federal agency reviewing the project. This is because the pipeline would be predominantly located on the U.S. Air Force Academy. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is a cooperating agency because the pipeline may require a Clean Water Act Section 404 permit for impacts on wetlands and waters of the United States. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service also may have a role because an Endangered Species Act consultation may be required for the impacts on the federally threatened Preble's Meadow jumping mouse and its habitat. The State Historic Preservation Officer also will review the project for any impact to cultural resources and to ensure compliance with the National Historic Preservation Act. An environmental assessment for the project is being prepared for the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. NEPA requires the federal agency to analyze the environmental impacts of major federal actions and to engage the public in the decision-making process. The federal action in this case is use of federal land to construct the pipeline. Currently, we're at the beginning of the public comment period. This is an opportunity for the public to provide early ideas about the initial purpose and need for the project, about issues and topics that we should be looking at, about alternatives we should be evaluating, and sources of information we should be considering. We invite you to contact Colorado Springs Utilities at any time with questions about the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor project. At the end of May, we will close the public comment period and review public comments. Then we will finalize the alternatives and begin working on the final environmental assessment. Our goal is to complete the environmental assessment in the spring of 2021. At that point, we'll have another opportunity for you to comment, this time on the final environmental assessment. The final step in the planning process is a decision by the U.S. Air Force about the alignment of the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor. The environmental assessment, or EA, will analyze 3 alternatives. That includes 2 alignment alternatives for the pipeline, the eastern alignment and the western alignment, and a no-action alternative under which the project would not be built. This is a map of the alignments under consideration. The eastern alignment is shown here in yellow, and the western alignment is shown in blue. There are 2 optional connections shown here as dashed red lines. These connectors would be used to combine the northern portion of the western alignment with the southern portion of the eastern alignment, or vice versa. Additional lateral pipelines are shown here as short, generally east-west lines that would connect to the main alignment. These lateral pipelines would operate by gravity and make the lift stations unnecessary. As you can see from this figure, the majority of the pipeline would be on the U.S. Air Force Academy, and a portion of the alignment would be on private land north and south of the Academy. The eastern alignment would generally run through the eastern portion of the U.S. Air Force Academy, west of Interstate 25, and would also cross private land north of the Academy. The western alignment would generally follow Monument Creek on the west side of the creek within the U.S. Air Force Academy, and would also cross private land north and south of the Academy. To review, there are several features that are common to both alignments. Both alignments would construct a 10-mile pipeline to collect wastewater flows from the northern districts and transport them via gravity to the J.D. Phillips Water Resource Recovery Facility in Colorado Springs. Both alignments would be predominantly on the U.S. Air Force Academy. Both would consolidate regional wastewater treatment facilities as recommended by state and federal permitting authorities. Both would reduce or eliminate operating costs associated with multiple wastewater lift stations, and both would increase efficiency by treating additional flows using available capacity at the J.D. Phillips facility. NEPA also requires that a no-action alternative be analyzed. If the no-action alternative is selected, the project would not be constructed and current operations would continue unchanged. The existing wastewater collection and treatment facilities used by the northern providers would continue to be used and maintained. Without construction of the Northern Monument Creek Interceptor, the northern districts would meet the challenges of new regulations, growth, reliability, and cost as individual entities. The environmental assessment will analyze impacts to resources that could potentially be affected by the project. Topics considered for the human environment include cultural resources, hazardous materials and/or waste, land use, noise, recreation, safety and occupational health, socioeconomic resources, and the U.S. Air Force Academy's Air Installation Compatible Use Zone. There are several historical sites on the U.S. Air Force Academy, in addition to recreational resources such as hiking, biking, and equestrian trails. One could expect that most impacts on resources would be temporary. They would occur only during construction. Topics considered for the natural environment include air quality, floodplains, geology and soils, vegetation, water resources, wetlands, and wildlife. The eastern and western alignments include several stream crossings and could potentially affect wetlands. The threatened Preble's meadow jumping mouse is also known to exist in the project area. To summarize, Colorado Springs Utilities and 6 sanitation districts in northern El Paso County seek to build a wastewater pipeline for the benefit of all participants. This project requires approval from federal regulatory agencies, including a review under the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. 2 potential pipeline alignments and a no-action alternative are under study at this time. Public comment on this project is welcome. If you have questions about this project, please call our Public Engagement Representative, Margaret Radford, at 719-290-0885. You may submit comments online 2 ways. First, visit our website at the address shown and you'll see a link there, or use this link, mradford@csu.org. You may also submit comments in writing to Bob Fant at the U.S. Air Force Academy at the mailing address shown. Comments will be accepted until May 31st. Thank you again for your time and attention on this important matter.